Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatirmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी निते नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We are reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, chapter 7, entitled as Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupa Swarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam. So let us begin with 106 verse. Mother is, please start from yours. Is it audible? Hare Krishna?
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Please begin. Yourself. Start. You can start, Mother.
Yes, Prabhuji. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The Lord said, Vedanta philosophy consists of words spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana in the form of Vyasadeva. Purport. The Vedanta Sutra, which consists of aphorism revealing the method of understanding Vedic knowledge, is the concise form of all Vedic knowledge. It begins with the words Atato Brahma Jignasa. Now is the time to inquire about the absolute truth. The human form of life is especially meant for this purpose, and therefore the Vedanta Sutra very concisely explains the human mission. This is confirmed by the words of the Vayu and Skanda Puranas, which define a sutra as follows: Alpaksharam Asandigdam Saravat Vishwato Mukham Astobham Anavadyam Cha Sutram Sutra Vido Viduhu. A sutra is a compilation of aphorisms that express the essence of all knowledge in a minimum of words. It must be universally applicable and faultless in its linguistic presentation. Anyone familiar with such sutras must be aware of the Vedanta Sutra, which is well known among scholars by the following additional names: Brahma Sutra, Shariraka, Vyasa Sutra, Badarayana Sutra, Uttara Mimamsa, and Vedanta Darshana. There are 4 chapters, Adhyayas, in the Vedanta Sutra, and there are 4 divisions, Padas, in each chapter. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra may be referred to as fully described in terms of 5 different subject matters, Adhikaranas, which are called Pratigna. Prabhuji?
Yes, Mother, Japan. Continue, Mother.
Prabhuji, could scroll. Scroll.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji. Which are technically called Pratigna, Hetu, Udharana, Upanaya, and Nigama. Every theme must necessarily be explained with reference to Pratigna, or a solemn declaration of the purpose of the treatise. The solemn declaration given in the beginning of the Vedanta Sutra is Atato Brahma Jignasa, which indicates that this book was written with the solemn declaration to inquire about the absolute truth. Similarly, reasons must be expressed hetu. Examples must be given in terms of various facts. Udharana. The theme must gradually be brought nearer for understanding Upanaya. And finally, it must be supported by authoritative quotations from the Vedic Shastras, Nigamana. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Mother. Atatu Brahma Jigyasa. So, human form of life is meant for self-realization. That is mentioned here. And Prabhupada, how he is explaining, there's a different adhikaranas. Hetu, reasons. Like examples with udaharana. understanding, nearer understanding, or upanaya. And finally, it must be supported by authoritative quotations from Vedic Shastras, nigamana. So these are all technical words, right?
I can read.
Lavanya, would you like to read?
Yes, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji's Dandavat Pranam. According to great dictionary compiler Hemachandra, also known as Koshakara, Vedanta refers to the purport of the Upanishads and the Brahmana portion of the Vedas. Professor Apte in his dictionary describes the Brahmana portion of the Vedas as that portion which states the rules for employment of hymns and at various sacrifices and gives detailed explanation of their origin, sometimes with lengthy illustrations in the form of legends and stories. It is distinct from the mantra portion of the Vedas. Hemachandra says that the supplement of the Vedas is called the Vedanta Sutra. Veda means knowledge and Anta means the end. In other words, proper understanding of the ultimate purpose of the Vedas is called Vedanta knowledge. Such knowledge as given in the aphorisms of the Vedanta Sutra must be supported by the Upanishads.
Continue this paragraph.
According to learned scholars, there are three different sources of knowledge, which are called Prasthanatraya. According to these scholars, Vedanta is one of such sources, for it presents Vedic knowledge on the basis of logic and sound arguments. In the Bhagavad Gita 13.5, the Lord says, Brahma Sutra Padaischaiva Hetumabir Vinishyati. Understanding of the ultimate goal of life is ascertained in the Brahma Sutra by legitimate logic and argument concerning cause and effect. Therefore, the Vedanta Sutra is also known as Nyaya Prasthana. The Upanishads are known as Shruti Prasthana. And the Gita, Mahabharata, and Puranas are also known as Smriti Prasthana. All scientific knowledge of the transcendence must be supported by Shruti, Smriti, and sound logical basis.
Thank you. Deepa Mata, would you like to read?
Yeah, Prabhuji, I can read. Am I audible, Prabhuji?
Yes.
Yeah. It is said that both the Vedic knowledge and the supplement of the Vedas, called the Satvata Pancharatra, emanated from the breathing of Narayana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vedanta Sutra aphorisms were compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, a powerful incarnation of Sri Narayana. Although it is sometimes said they were compiled by a great sage named Apantara Tama. The Pancharatra and Vedanta Sutra, however, express the same opinions. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore confirmed that there is no difference in opinion between the two. And he declares that because the Vedanta Sutra was compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, it may be understood to have emanated from the breathing of Sri Narayana. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura comments that while Vyasadeva was compiling the Vedanta Sutra, 7 of the great saintly contemporaries were also engaged in similar work. These saints were Atreya Rishi, Ashmarathya, Audulomi, Kashna Jini, Kashakrishna, Jaimini, and Badri. In addition, it is stated that Parashari and Karmandi Bhikshu also discussed the Vedanta Sutra aphorisms before Vyasadeva. As mentioned above, the Vedanta Sutra consists of 4 chapters. The first 2 chapters discuss the relationship of the living entity with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is known as Sambandha Jnana, or knowledge of the relationship. The third chapter describes how one can act in this relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Abhideya Jnana. The relationship of the living entity with the Supreme Lord is described by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Jivera Swarupahaya Krishnera Nityadas. The living entity is an eternal servant of Krishna, the Supreme God. CC Madhyalila 20.108. Therefore, to act in that relationship, one must perform sadhana bhakti, or the prescribed duties of service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is called Abhideya Jnana. The fourth chapter describes the result of such devotional service. The ultimate goal of life is to go back home, back to Godhead. The words Anavriti Shabdat in the Vedanta Sutra indicate this ultimate goal.
Complete, Mother.
Yeah. Srila Vyasdeva, a powerful incarnation of Narayana, compiled the Vedanta Sutra, and in order to protect it from unauthorized commentaries, he personally composed Srimad Bhagavatam on the instruction of his spiritual master Narada Muni as the original commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Besides Srimad Bhagavatam, there are commentaries on the Vedanta Sutra composed by all major Vaishnava acharyas. In each of them, devotional service to the Lord is described very explicitly. Only those who follow Shankara's commentary have described the Vedanta Sutra in an impersonal way, without reference to Vishnu Bhakti, service to the Lord Vishnu. Generally, people very much appreciate this Sharirika Bhashya or impersonal description of the Vedanta Sutra, but all commentaries that are devoid of devotional service to Lord Vishnu must be considered to differ in purport from the original Vedanta Sutra. In other words, Lord Chaitanya definitely confirmed that the commentaries or bhashyas written by Vaishnava acharyas on the basis of devotional service to the Vishnu and not Sharirika Bhashya of Shankaracharya give the actual explanation of the Vedanta Sutra. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yes. But there are three aspects: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Right? So in Vedanta Sutra also, it is described like that. Sambandha Jnana in this paragraph clearly explained about the Vedanta Sutras in these three aspects: Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Sambandha means relationship. They have a relationship between Krishna and living entity. Sambandha, Abhideya. Abhideya means to act in that relationship. And Prayojana means by doing so, what happens? Going back home, back to God. That is what Prayojana, Phalitam, right? Right. Chandra, please read.
Yep. Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The material defects of mistakes, illusions, cheating, and sensory inefficiency do not exist in the words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Purport. A mistake is the acceptance of an object to be different from what it is, or the acceptance of false knowledge. For example, one may see a rope in the dark and think it is a serpent, or one may see a glittering oyster shell and think it to be a gold. There are mistakes. Similarly, an illusion is a misunderstanding that arises from inattention while hearing, and cheating. Cheating is the transmission of such defective knowledge to others. Materialistic scientists and philosophers generally use such words as maybe and perhaps because they do not have actual knowledge of complete facts. Therefore, their instructing others is an example of cheating. The final defect of the material person is his inefficient senses. Although our eyes, for example, have the power to see, they cannot see that which is situated at a distance, nor can they see the yield, which is the object nearest to the eye. To our untrained eyes, the sun appears to be just like a plate, and to the other, to the eyes of the one which is suffering from jaundice, everything appears to be yellow. Therefore, we cannot rely on the knowledge acquired. Knowledge acquired through the such imperfect eyes. The ears are equally imperfect. We cannot hear a sound vibrated a long distance always unless we put a telephone to our ear. Similarly, if we analyze all our senses in this way, we will find them all to be imperfect. Therefore, it is useless to acquire knowledge through the senses. The Vedic process is to hear from authority. In the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 2nd sloka, the Lord says, Evam parampara prapantam imam rajasayo viduhu. The supreme science was thus received through the chain of disciplic succession, and the saintly kings understood in that way we have to hear not from a telephone but from authorized persons. For it he is he who has real knowledge. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. That's a problem with our senses, imperfect senses. The knowledge also imperfect when we are perceive or acquire through these senses. Imperfection. That's why we have to undergo through authority. Krishna himself saying in the Bhagavad Gita, right? Evam parampara praptam. Parampara started from Krishna himself, right? That's the beauty. So when we situate in the parampara means proper parampara, like there are 4 authorized paramparas, right? Brahma Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, Kumara Sampradaya, Sri Sampradaya, right? So perfect knowledge received from through these authoritative, authorized disciplic succession. The knowledge is perfect. We don't use all these our senses to speculative knowledge. That is not perfect. Yeah. Kinchan Prabhu, kindly read. Kinchan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Translation and purport by Rishi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Absolute truth is described in the Upanishads and Brahma Sutra, but one must understand the verses as they are. That is the supreme glory in understanding. Purport. It has become fashionable since the time of Shankaracharya to explain everything regarding the Shastras in an indirect way. Scholars take pride in explaining everything in their own way, and they declare that one can understand the Vedic scriptures in any way he likes. This any way you like method is foolishness, and it has created havoc in the Vedic culture. One cannot accept scientific knowledge in his own whimsical way. In the science of mathematics, for example, 2 plus 2 equals to 4, and one cannot make it equal to 3 or 5. Yet, although it is not possible to alter real knowledge, people have taken to the fashion of understanding Vedic knowledge in any way they like. It is for this reason that we have presented Bhagavad Gita as it is. We do not create meanings by concoction. Sometimes commentators say that the word Kurukshetra is the first verse in the Bhagavad Gita, refers to one's body. But we do not accept this. We understand that Kurukshetra is a place and still exists. And according to Vedic version, it is Dharmakshetra or the place of pilgrimage. People still go to there to perform Vedic sacrifices. Foolish commentators, however, say that Kurukshetra means the body and that Pancha Pandava refers to the 5 senses. In this way, they distort the meaning and people are misled. Here, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms that all Vedic literature, including the Upanishads, Brahma Sutra, and others, were Shruti, Smriti, and Nyaya, must be understood according to their original statements. To describe the direct meaning of the Vedic literature is glorious, but to describe them in one's own way, using imperfect senses and imperfect knowledge, is a disastrous blunder. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fully deprecated the attempt to describe the Vedas in this way.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Thank you. Correct.
And mentions. Yeah. Aryan Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Read this one, Prabhu.
Regarding the Upanishads, the following 11 Upanishads are considered to be the topmost. Isha, Kena, Katha, Prashna, Mundaka, Mandukya, Taitriya, Aitareya, Chandogya, Brihad, Aryaka, and Swesta Swatara.
Brother and Sweta. Yes.
However,
Yeah.
in the Mukti Upanishad, verses 30 to 39, there is a description of 108 Upanishads. They are as follows: Ishopanishad, Kenopanishad, Kathopanishad, Prashnopanishad, Mundaka Upanishad, Mandukya Upanishad, Taitriya Upanishad, Aitreyopanishad, Chandogya-panishad, Brihad Arankyopanishad, Brahmopanishad, Kavlyopanishad, Jabalopan Jabalopanishad, Shvestavatropanishad, Hamsopanishad, Aruneyopanishad, Garbhopanishad, Atharva Shikshopanishad,
This one, Narayana.
Narayan Upanishad, Paramhamsa-panishad, Amrita Bindu-panishad, Nada Bindu-panishad, Stropanishad, Atharva Shikshopanishad, Maitreya Upanishad, Kausitai Upanishad, Upanishad, Nrsimha Tapanyopanishad, Kalagni Rudropanishad, Maitreya Upanishad, Subalopanishad, Shuri Upanishad, Mantrikopanishad, Saropanishad, Nira Lambopanishad, Sukha Rahasyopanishad, Varja Suchikopanishad, Tejo Bindu Upanishad, Nada Bindu Upanishad, Dhyana Bindu Upanishad, Brahma Vidyopanishad, Stitopanishad, Yoga Tattvopanishad, Atma Bodhopanishad, Narada Parivarjak Upanishad,
Parivraja Upanishad. Yes.
Trishki Upanishad, Sitopanishad, Yoga Kudami Upanishad, Nirvana Upanishad, Mandala Brahmana Upanishad, Dakshina Murti Upanishad, Subarupanishad, Sankadopanishad, Mahanarayan Upanishad, Advaya Taropanishad, Rama Rahasya Upanishad, Rama Tapani Upanishad, Vasudeva Upanishad, Muddagala Upanishad, Sandilya Upanishad, Pengal Upanishad, Bhiksu Upanishad, Mahad Upanishad, Sarira Upanishad, Yoga Shikshopanishad, Turiyati Upanishad, Sanya Upanishad, Paramhamsa Parivajak Upanishad, Mulik Upanishad, Avyakt Upanishad, Ekak Aropanishad, Purnopanishad, Suryopanishad, Akshi Upanishad, Adhyatma Upanishad, Kundika Upanishad, Savitri Upanishad, Atma Upanishad, Pashupato Upanishad, Param Brahma Upanishad, Avdhutopanishad, Tripura Tapano Upanishad, Devi Upanishad, Tripura Upanishad, Katha Rudropanishad, Bhavanopanishad, Hridayopanishad, Yoga Kundalin Upanishad, Bhasmopanishad, Rudrakshopanishad, Ganopanishad, Darshanopanishad, Tara Saropanishad, Mahavyaktopanishad, Pancha Brahmopanishad, Pranagi Hotropanishad, Gopala Tapani Upanishad, Krishnopanishad, Yagyavali Upanishad, Varopanishad, Satyayai Upanishad, Hayagrivopanishad, Datrepopanishad, Garudopanishad, Kali Upanishad, Jabali Upanishad, Saubhagya Upanishad, Saraswati Rahasya Upanishad, Bhavarak Upanishad, and Mukti Upanishad. Thus, there are 108 generally accepted Upanishads, of which 11 are the most important, as previously stated. Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Aryan Prabhu ki jai. You have read all the 108 Upanishads, Prabhu. All 108 Upanishads. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In our lifetime, we never ever know these different Upanishads with names. Thank you, Aryan Prabhu.
This text number also 7.108. 108 text number, that previous text number, 108 text.
Nice. Nice. That also correlates. 7108. Sure, Prabhu. Except you, everybody read, Prabhu. You can read, Prabhu, some purports and translations.
Okay.
Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Translation. Sripada Sankaracharya has described all the Vedic literatures in terms of indirect meanings. One who hears such explanations is ruined. Translation. Sankaracharya is not a fault, for it is under the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that he has covered the real purport of the Vedas. Purport. The Vedic literature is to be considered a source of real knowledge, but if one does not take it as it is, one will be misled. For example, the Bhagavad Gita is an important Vedic literature that has been taught for many years, but because it was commented upon the unscrupulous rascals, people derived no benefit from it, and no one came to the conclusion of Krishna consciousness. Since the purport of Bhagavad Gita is now being presented as it is, however, within 4 or 5 short years, thousands of people all over the world have become Krishna conscious. That is the difference between the direct and indirect explanation of the Vedic literature. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Mukya Vritte Sei Artha Parama Mahatva. To teach the Vedic literature according to the direct meaning without false commentary is glorious. Unfortunately, Sri Shankaracharya, by the order of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, compromised between the atheism and theism in order to cheat the atheists and bring them to theism, and do not have gave up the direct method of Vedic knowledge and try to present a meaning which is indirect. It is with the purpose that he wrote the Shariraka Bhasya commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. One should not therefore attribute very much importance to the Sankara Bhasya in order to understand Shariraka Bhasya. In order to understand Vedanta philosophy, one must study Srimad Bhagavatam, which begins with the words Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Janmadye Asayatu Mayad Itaratas Chartes Abhignanaha Sarvarat. I offer my obeisance unto Lord Sri Krishna, O son of Vasudeva, who is the supreme all-pervading personality of Godhead. I meditate upon him, the transcendent reality, who is the primeval cause of all causes, from whom all manifested universes arise, in whom they dwell and by whom they are destroyed. I meditate upon that eternal effulgent Lord, who is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations and yet is fully independent. Bhagavatam 1.1.1. Srimad Bhagavatam is the real commentary on the Vedanta Sutra. Unfortunately, if one is attracted to Sri Sankaracharya commentary, Shariraka Bhasya is spiritual life is doomed. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. It's a good purport, it seems. Let us complete. Okay. I will read some. One may argue that since Shankaracharya is an incarnation of Lord Shiva, how is it that he cheated people in this way? The answer is that he did so on the order of his master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed in the Padma Purana in the words of Lord Shiva himself. Mayavadam asaschastram prichannam bauddham uchyate mayaiva kalpitam devi kalau brahmana rupina. Brahmanas chaparam rupam nirgunam vakshate maya sarvasvam jagatopi asya mohanartham kalau yuge vedante tu mahashastre mayavadam avaidikam mayaiva vakshate devi jagatam nasha karanat. The Mayavada philosophy, Lord Shiva informed his wife Parvati is impious, Ashas Shastra. It is covered Buddhism. My dear Parvati, in Kali Yuga, I assume the form of a Brahmana and teach this imagined Mayavada philosophy. In order to cheat the atheists, I describe the Supreme Personality of God to be without form and without qualities. Similarly, in explaining Vedanta, I describe the same Mayavada philosophy in order to mislead the entire population toward atheism by denying the personal form of the Lord. In the Shiva Purana, the Supreme Personality of God told Lord Shiva, Dvaparado Yuge Bhutva Kalaya Manushadisu Swagamai Kalpitais Tvamcha Jananmat Vimukhan Kuru. In Kali Yuga, misled the people in general by propounding imaginary meanings for the Vedas to bewilder them. These are the descriptions of the Puranas. Let us complete this. Okay. Yeah. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur comments that Mukhya Vritti, the direct meaning, is Abhida Vritti, or the meaning that one can understand immediately from the statements of dictionaries, whereas Gauna Vritti, the indirect meaning, is a meaning that one imagines without consulting the dictionary. For example, one politician has said that Kurukshetra refers to the body, but in the dictionary there is no such definition. Therefore, this imaginary meaning is Gauna Vritti, whereas the direct meaning found in the dictionary is Mukhya Vritti or Abhida Vritti. This is the distinction between the two. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommends that one understand the Vedic literature in terms of Abhida Vritti and the Guna Vritti, and the Guna Vritti rejects. Sometimes, however, as a matter of necessity, the Vedic literature is described in terms of Lakshana Vritti or Gauna Vritti, but one should not accept such explanations as permanent truths. Right. So I see Subbarao Prabhu, Madhavi Mataji. Okay. Would you like to read Prabhu, Subbarao Prabhu? There are 2 paragraphs left. Yeah. Any Mataji's, Prabhuji's, let us complete this verse.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Prabhu, are we doing slokas now or it's shifted to evening?
Slokas only. It is today's extended reading. I started little late.
Oh, okay.
So we'll recite slokas. That is next. Once complete this, you want to read this?
This one, no, you continue, Prabhu. Yes.
Okay.
I'm outside.
Sure.
Where the purpose?
The purpose.
Shall I read, Prabhuji?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you started.
No, that's it. Go ahead, Prabhuji. Chandrabalu.
Yeah. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The purpose of the discussions in the Upanishads and Vedanta Sutra is to philosophically establish the personal feature of the absolute truth. The impersonalists, however, in order to establish their philosophy, accept these discussions in terms of Lakshana Vritti or indirect message. Thus, instead of being Tattvada or in search of the absolute truth, they become Mayavada or illusioned by the material energy. When Sri Vishnu Swami, one of the 4 acharyas of the Vaishnava culture, presented his thesis on the subject matter of Suddhaitva Vada, immediately the Mayavadis took advantage of this philosophy and tried to establish their Advaita Vada or Kevala Advaita Vada. To defeat this Kevala Advaita Vada, Sri Ramanujacharya presented his philosophy as Vishishtadvaita Vada, and Sri Madhvacharya presented his philosophy of Tattvavada, both of which are stumbling blocks to the Mayavadis because they defeat their philosophy in scriptural detail. Students of Vedic philosophy know very well how strongly Sri Ramanujacharya's Vishishtadvaita Vada and Sri Madhvacharya's Tattvavada contest the impersonal Mayavada philosophy. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, accepted the direct meaning of the Vedanta philosophy and thus defeated the Mayavada philosophy immediately. He opined in this connection that anyone who follows the principles of Saritraka Bhashya is doomed. This is confirmed in the Padma Purana when Lord Shiva tells Parvati.
I will do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Shruno Devi Pravakshyami Tamasani Yatakramam Yesham Shravana Matrena Patityam Jnaninam Api. Apartam Shruti Vakyanam Darshayal Loka Garhitam Karma Swarupa Tyajatvam Atracha Pratipadyate Sarva Karma Paribramsham Naishkarmyam Tapta Chocyate Paratma Jivayor Aikyam Mayatra Pratipadyate. My dear wife, hear my explanations of how I have spread ignorance through Mayavada philosophy. Simply by hearing it, even an advanced scholar will fall down in this philosophy, which is certainly very inauspicious for people in general. I have misrepresented the real meaning of the Vedas and recommended that one give up all activities in order to achieve freedom from karma. In this Mayavada philosophy, I have described the Jivatma and Paramatma to be one and the same. How the Mayavada philosophy was condemned by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers is described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antyalila, 2nd chapter, verses 94 through 99. By Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers is described in Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Antyalila, 2nd chapter, verse 94 through 99, where Swarup Damodar Goswami says that anyone who is eager to understand the Mayavada philosophy must be considered insane. This especially applies to a Vaishnava who reads the Shariraka Bhashya and considers himself to be one with God. The Mayavadi philosophers have presented their arguments in such attractive, flowery language that hearing Mayavadi philosophy may sometimes change the mind of even a Mahabhagavata or very advanced devotee. An actual Vaishnava cannot tolerate any philosophy that claims God and the living being to be one and the same. So that's a problem with Mayavadi philosophy on the same level, to be one with God like that. But in devotional service, in our the all sampradayas, Krishna is supreme personality of God and he is master. We are servants. That is the proper understanding. Yeah. So this purport talks about Mayavada philosophy in detail. If anybody wants to understand what is Mayavada philosophy, you have to say this, we have to understand from Prabhupada purports. So clearly explained. Yeah. Thank you so much. It took another 10-15 minutes more. Thank you so much for reading. Let us go through with our sloka recitations. Let me open up. Yeah. Yeah, let us do without any. It takes 9:15 till 9:15 will go. Okay, same format. All the slokas, first line, first time, second time, 2 lines, third time, all the 4 lines, and translation. We'll do that. Okay. While doing, kindly, repeat after me and try to memorize. See, that's the exercise now. So let us do that way. Okay. So Bhagavad Gita 7.5. Please repeat after me. Apareyam itastvanyam. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Prakritim vidhi me param. Jiva bhutam mahabaho. Yeyedam dharyate jagat. Apareyam itasvanyam prakritim vidhi me param. Jiva bhutam mahabaho yeyedam dharyate jagat.
Jiva bhutam mahabaho yedam dharyate jagat.
Apareyam itastvanyam prakritim vidhi me param. Jiva bhutam mahabaho yeyedam dharyate jagat.
Apareyam itasvanyam prakritim vidhi me param. Jiva bhutam mahabaho yedam dharyate jagat.
Anybody likes to do translation? Then we all repeat. I'll do sloka and then we'll follow you.
Okay.
Please do it.
You want me to do the translation, Prabhu?
Yes. Yeah, all the translation you do, I'll do slokas, Prabhu. Yes.
Besides these, O mighty armed Arjuna,
Besides this, O mighty armed Arjuna,
there is another superior energy of mind,
there is another superior energy of mind,
which comprises the living entities
which
which comprises living
living
entities
who are exploiting the resources of this material, inferior nature.
who are exploiting the resources of this material, inferior nature. Yes, thank you. 7.14. Daivihesha gunamayi
Daivihesha gunamayi
mama maya duratyaya
maya dharatyaya
mam yevaye prapadyante
vaye prapadyante
maya metam tarantite.
maya metam tarantite.
Daivihesha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya
Daivihesha gunamayi mama maya dharatyaya
mam yevaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite.
vaye prapadyante maya metam tarantite.
दैवीयेषा गुणमयी मम माया दुरत्यया मां ये वये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
दैवीशेषा गुणमयी मम मया दुर्जया मामेवये प्रपद्यन्ते मायामेतां तरन्ति ते.
Yeah, చెప్పండి.
This divine energy of mind, consisting of three modes of material nature,
this
This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature,
is difficult to overcome.
is difficult
is
to
difficult to overcome.
But those who have surrendered unto me
but those who
can easily cross beyond it.
can
Easily cross beyond it. Can easily cross beyond it. Yes. 7.19. Bahunam janmanamante
Namante
ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते
ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते
वासुदेव सर्वमिति
वासुदेवा सर्वमिति
स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः
समात्मा दुर्लभः
बहुनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते
बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते
वासुदेव सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः
वासुदेवा सर्वमिति महात्मा सुदुर्लभः
बहुनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवं सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः
बहुनां जन्मनामन्ते
ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवा सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः. Translation. After many births and deaths, you who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me.
He who is actually knowledge surrenders unto me.
Knowing me to be the cause of all causes,
Knowing me to be the cause of all causes.
knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is.
Knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is.
Such a great soul is very rare.
Such a great soul is very rare. Yeah. 8.5. Antakale cha mamyeva
Antakale cha mameva
smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyastra samshaya. Antakale cha mam eva smaran muktva kalevaram
Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram
yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyastra samshayah.
yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastraya samshaya. Translation. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes. Antakale cha mamyeva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyastra samshayah.
Antakale cha mameva smaran mukta kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastraya samshaya. Hare Krishna. Translation. And whoever at the end of his life
Whoever at the end of his life
At the end of this life,
quits his body remembering me,
quits his
quits his
body
body, remembering me,
alone at once attains my nature.
alone
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 at once attains
is my
my
by
nature.
nature.
Of this there is no doubt.
Of this
Of
there
this
is
no doubt. There is no doubt. Yes. 8.16. Abrahma bhuvanarloka
Brahma Puna Loka
punaravartinorjuna
Vartino Arjuna
mamupetya tu kaunteya
Kaunteya
punarjanmana vidyate.
Pularjanmana vidyate.
Abrahma bhuvanarloka punaravartinorjuna
Brahma Puna Loka Vartino Arjuna
mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate.
Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate.
Pularjanmana vidyate.
Abrahma bhuvanarloka punaravartinorjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate.
Brahma Puna Loka Vartino Arjuna Mamupetye Kaunteya Punarjanmana Vidyate.
Vidyate.
Hare Krishna. Translation. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest,
From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest,
all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place.
all are
places
places of
of
misery.
misery where
Repeated birth and
And
death.
death.
But one who attains my abode,
But
But one who attains to my abode,
O son of Kunti, never takes birth again.
O son of Kunti, never takes again. Yeah. Now 9th chapter, there are 7 verses. 9.2 Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Rajavidya
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitram Idamuttamam
Pavitram
Idamuttamam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam
Pratyakshavagamam
Susukham Kartumavyayam.
Susukam Kartumavyayam
Avyayam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Uttamam
Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam.
Pratyakshavagamam
Susukam Kartumavyayam.
Kartuvyam
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshaavagamam Dharmyam Susukham Kartumavyayam.
Rajavidya Rajaguhyam
Pavitram Idamuttamam Pratyakshavagamam Dharmam Susukam Kartam Avyayam.
Translation. This knowledge is the king of education, the most secret of all secrets.
This knowledge is the
Knowledge is
king
the
of
king of
education,
education, the
most
secret
secret of all secrets.
It is the purest knowledge,
is the
It is
purest
the
knowledge.
purest knowledge.
and because it gives direct perception of the self by realization,
And
because
because
it gives
gives
direct
direct
perception of
direct
of
perception
self
of
realization.
by realization,
it is the perfection of religion,
it is
it is the perfection of religion.
is everlasting, and is the joy, and it is joyfully performed.
It is
everlasting,
everlasting, it is joyfully
joyfully
performed.
performed.
I think it was messed up in the way I broke it up, right, Prabhuji? How do you break it up? 4 lines?
Correct, bro.
Correct,
Kamalu,
no? I think we broke it 5 times. Okay, that's okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. 9.4 Maya tatam idam sarvam
Maya tatam idam sarvam
Jagat avyakta murtina
Jagat avyaktam murtina
Astani sarva bhutani
Masthani
sarvabhutani
Nachaham teshu avastitaha.
Nachaham teshu avastitha
Maya tatam idam sarvam Jagat avyakta murtina
Maya tatam sarvam jagat avyaktamurtina
हस्तानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेषु अवस्थितः
हस्तानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं त्वेषु अवस्थितः
मया ततम् इदं सर्वं जगत् अव्यक्तमूर्तिना मस्तानि सर्वभूतानि न चाहं तेषु अवस्थितः
मया ततं सर्वं
सर्वं
जगदव्यक्तमूर्तिः
जगताव्यक्तामूर्तिनः
हस्तानि
हस्तानि
सर्वभूतानि
सर्वभूतानि न
चाहं
चाहं
तेषु
तेषु
अवस्थितः
उपस्थितः।
Translation. By me in my unmanifested form,
By
By
me
me,
in my
my unmanifested form,
manifested form,
this entire universe is pervaded.
this
the
entire
entire
universe is
universe is
pervaded.
pervaded.
All beings are in me,
All
All
beings
beings
are
are
in
in
me,
me,
but I am not in them.
but I am
I
not
am
in
not
them.
in them. 9.14 Satatam kirtayanto mam
Satatam
Kirtayanto
kirtayanto
maam,
yatantascha dridhavrata
yatantascha dridhavrataha
namasyantascha mam bhaktya
namastatyantascha bhaktya
ityayukta upasate.
Nityayukta upasate.
Satatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrata
Satatam
Satatam
kirtayanto
kirtayanto
maam,
mam
yatantascha
yatantascha
dridhavrataha.
dridhavrataha
namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate.
namastatyantascha bhaktya nityayukta upasate.
Upasate.
Tatatam kirtayanto mam yatantascha dridhavrata namasyantascha mam bhaktya nityayukta upasate.
Satatam kirtayanto
Kirtayanto
mam
maam,
yatantascha
yatantascha dridhavrataha.
dridhavrataha namastatyantascha
Namastantascha
bhaktya nityayukta
nityayukta
upasate.
upasate. Translation. Always chanting my glories,
Always
Always
chanting
chanting
my
my
glories,
glories,
endeavoring with great determination,
endeavoring with
endeavoring with
great
great
determination,
determination,
bowing down before me,
bowing down
bowing
before
down
me.
before me.
these great souls perpetually worship me with devotion.
These
These
great
great
souls
souls
perpetually
perpetually
worship me
worship
with
me with
devotion.
devotion. 9.25 Yanti deva vrata devan
Yanti deva vrata deva,
pitran yanti pritam vrata
pritrin yanti pritarvrata,
bhutani yanti bhutejya
bhutani yanti bhuteja,
yanti madhyajinopi mam
yanti madhyajinopi mam.
yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitran vrata
Yanti deva
Yanti deva
devan
vrata devan
yanti
pritritvanti pritarvrata,
bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajinopi mam
bhutani
bhutani
yanti
teja
bhuteja, yanti
yanti
madhyajinopi mam.
yanti deva vrata devan pitran yanti pitran vrata bhutani yanti bhutejya yanti madhyajinopi mam
Yanti
Yanti
deva
deva
vrata
vrata devan yanti
Yanti
pitra
deva
vrata
vrata devan pitri yanti
yanti
vrata
teja yanti
bhutani
madhya
yanti
jinopi
bhuteja
mam.
yanti madhyajinopi mam.
Translation. Those who worship the demigods will take birth among the demigods.
those who
Those who
worship
worship the
demigods
demigods
will
will
take
take
birth
birth
among
among the
demigods.
demigods.
Those who worship the ancestors go to the ancestors.
Those who
Those
worship
who
the
worship the
ancestors go to the
ancestors go
ancestors.
to the ancestors.
Those who worship ghosts and spirits will take birth among such beings.
Those who
Those who
worship
worship
ghosts and
ghosts
spirits will
and
take birth
spirits
among
will
such
take birth among such
beings.
beings.
And those who worship me will live with me.
Those who worship me
And
will live with me.
those who worship me will live with me. Yes, thank you. 9.26 Patram pushpam phalam toyam
Patram
Patram
pushpam phalam
pushpam
toyam
toyam
yo me bhaktya prayaschati
yo ve bhaktya
ya
prayashyati
prayashyati
तदहं भक्त्युपाहृतं
तदहं भक्त्युपहृतम्
अस्नामि प्रयतात्मनः
अश्नामि
प्रयतात्मः
प्रयतात्मनः
पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयश्चति
पत्रं पुष्पं
पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो
भक्त्या
मे भक्त्या
प्रयच्छति
प्रयच्छति
तदहं भक्त्या उपाहृतम् अस्नामि प्रयतात्मनः
तदहं
तदहं
भक्ति उपाहृतं
भक्त्युपहृतम् अस्माकं
अस्नामि प्रयतात्मनः
पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं यो मे भक्त्या प्रयश्चति तदहं भक्त्या उपाहृतम् अस्नामि प्रयतात्मनः
पत्रं पुष्पं फलं तोयं
तोयं यो
यो
मे
मे भक्त्या प्रयच्छति तदहं भक्त्या उपाहृतं अस्नामि प्रयतात्मनः
Translation. If one offers me with love and devotion,
if one offers me with love and devotion
a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I will accept it.
a leaf, a
a
flower,
leaf
fruit,
flower
or water, I will accept it.
or water I will accept it first line lane amadu patram
Pudi?
pushpam phalam
Yeah.
illa veltu first line lane manaku ledannata patram pushpam
Pushpam
phalam
phalam
a leaf, a flower, a fruit or water. Yes, thank you Prabhu. Yeah. 9.27 yat karoshi yadasnasi
Yad karosi yadashasi
yajjuhosi dadasi yat
yadjoshi dadasi
yat tapasyasi kaunteya
yad tapasvi kaunteya
tat kurushva madarpanam
तत्पुरुषा
yat karoshi yadasnasi. Sorry, two lines.
karoshi yadashasi
Let us do one line and next time. Yajjuhosi dadasi yat
yadjoshi dadasi
yat tapasyasi kaunteya
yad tapasvi kaunteya
tat kurushva madarpanam.
Tatpurushvamadarpanam.
Two lines now. Yat karoshi yadasnasi yajjuhosi dadasi yat
yad karoshi yadashasi yadjoshi dadasi
yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam.
yad tapasvi kaunteya tatpurushvamadarpanam
Yat karoshi yadasnasi yajjuhosi dadasi yat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva madarpanam.
yad karoshi yadasnasi yajjoshi dadasi yad tapasvi kaunteya tatpurushvamadarpanam
Translation. Whatever you do, whatever you eat,
Whatever you do,
whatever
whatever you eat,
whatever you offer or give away,
whatever you
whatever
offer
you
or
offer
give
or
away,
give away,
and whatever austerities you perform,
and
and whatever austerities you perform,
do that, O son of Kunti, as an offering to me.
do that to
O
son of
son of
Kunti
Kunti,
as an offering
as
to
an
me.
offering to me. Yes, Prabhu. Thank you. 9.29 Samoham sarva bhuteshu
Samoham sarvabhuteshu
name dveshyosti na priya
name dveshyosti
Priya,
ye bhajanti timam bhaktya
ye bhajanti tu mam bhaktya
mayi te teshu chapyaham.
mayi te chapyaham.
Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priya
Samoham sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priya ye
ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham.
bhajanti tu teshu chapyaham.
Samoham sarva bhuteshu name dveshyosti na priya ye bhajanti tumam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham.
Samoham sarvabhuteshu
Sarvabhuteshu name dveshyosti na priya ye bhajante tu mam bhaktya mayi te teshu chapyaham.
Translation.
Completely.
Right, Prabhu?
Japan, Prabhu.
Right?
Japan.
Yeah. I envy no one, nor am I partial to anyone.
I
We no one, nor am I partial to anyone.
I am equal to all.
am
I am
equal to all.
But whoever renders service unto me,
But whoever renders service unto me
in devotion is a friend, is in me,
in devotion
Friend
is
in
a friend and is
and
in
I am
me.
also a friend to him.
And I am also a friend.
me.
10.8 Aham sarvasya prabhavo
Aham
Yes, Prabhu.
matta sarvam pravartate
Matta sarvam pravartate.
iti matva bhajante mam
Iti matta
buddha bhava samanvita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvita. Aham sarvasya prabhavo matta sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha.
aham sarvasya prabhu
Iti matva
I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds.
I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds.
Everything emanates from me.
Everything emanates from me.
The wise who perfectly knows this
The wise who perfectly know this
engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts.
engage in my devotion and worship with all their hearts. ఇచ్చేస్తారు హృదయాన్ని ఇచ్చేస్తారు భగవంతుని యొక్క పొజిషన్ తెలుసుకొని. ఎస్ థ్యాంక్ యూ ప్రభు. 10.10 తేషాం సతతయుక్తానాం భజతాం ప్రీతిపూర్వకం దదామి బుద్ధియోగంతం येन माम उपयान्ति ते तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगन्तं येन माम उपयान्ति ते तेषां सततयुक्तानां भजतां प्रीतिपूर्वकं ददामि बुद्धियोगन्तं येन माम उपयान्ति ते
To those who are constantly devoted to serving me, I think to those who are constantly devoted,
to those who are
with love. Okay, sorry, yes. Those who are constantly devoted, serving me with love. Okay. I give the understanding by which they can come to me.
I give the understanding by which మళ్ళొకసారి చదవండి మళ్ళొకసారి
In Prabhuji?
మళ్ళొకసారి చదవండి మళ్ళీ చదువుదాం.
Yeah, to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love,
to those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love,
I give the understanding by which they can come to me.
I give the understanding by which they can come to me. So ఎన్ని ఉన్నాయి చూడండి ప్రభు దీంట్లో constant devotion, service and with love. So Krishna is going to give everything. I give the understanding with that knowledge back home, back to Godhead. Yes, thank you Subara Prabhu for helping here translations. Thank you so much for all of you for reciting. Some of you I hope you are hearing. Tomorrow onwards, let us take turns. You recite, we all do like that. Okay. Lavanya tomorrow, next day Deepamade, next day Raju Babu, next day Subarabu, like that. Okay. Thank you so much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhu evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Srila Prabhupada Transcendental Book Reading ki jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai. Nitai Gaura Hari Premanande. Hari Hari Bol. Have a happy Krishna conscious Wednesday. Thank you very much. Dhanavad Pranam. Hare Krishna.